Ispirazzjoni u esperimenti ma' Angel Gallia.
Nilqakom għal programm ieħor Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti u l-mistiedna tal-lum hija Dr. Alexia Massa Gallucci. Thank you for coming. I will be talking to you in English and then translating a bit in Maltese for our listening. Thank you for finding the time to be here.
And thanks for having me here to talk about my work.
Yes, it is very interesting. Dr. Alexia hija marine biologist, ġifieri tifoka fuq dak li huwa baħar u aħna mdawrin bih bil-PhD tagħha fuq fisheries science. So it's about all those creatures that are swimming around us, right?
Yes.
So after moving to Malta, you started working in the marine industry for an environmental consultancy company where you were involved in both commercial and research projects and established the Department of Fisheries Research and Development. How interesting. So what does that type of work involve? Because we're trying to understand something we're not familiar with here.
Yes, and the company I was working both on European projects that focused on marine conservation, but also on aquaculture and development of what is the commercial fisheries. And at the same time, also the company was having commercial contracts with both national organization here in Malta and abroad. So through the European project, it was possible for me to carry on lines of research depending on the type of project and the framework if there was scope for innovation or research. Whereas with the commercial project, it was possible then to use the skills that were developed through innovation and research applied on a practical level, in order then to carry out work like from the field, so going in the field and collecting samples and data, and then analyzing those data in order to then getting information about the fish population, both in Maltese water and abroad.
So meta ġiet lura Malta, meta ġiet tgħix Malta, kienet taħdem ma' kumpanija fejn kienu jaħdmu fuq konservazzjoni tal-kultura fil-baħar, fl-ibħra ta' madwarna, u ovvjament jagħmlu riċerka, janalizzaw u jaraw jekk jistgħu x'jagħmlu b'mod prattiku iktar kummerċjali f'dak li huwa sajd mod iktar kummerċjali. So this is something that we're brought up with, you know, because we're surrounded by the sea. It's very, very important for us, especially when you talk about conservation of our marine life around us. It's part of our staple diet, but also the sea around us to be healthy. We need all the creatures to be healthy.
Absolutely.
And so it's very important to keep that in mind.
And also it's important because the sea, when it's healthy, provides us with many more resources than just food. Food, obviously, as you said, is a staple and is very important. Fisheries all over the world provides the third most important source of protein around the world. And obviously Malta, because we are surrounded by sea, we grow up with it. I was born in Naples and I was on a coastal town, so for me sea
similar.
Yes, is a very similar upbringing. And the other many resources that the sea provides us and we don't think about are many organisms, many species, animals and plants that can actually provide products that are used then in medicine, in drugs, but also in many other products that we use every day. For example, if you think about ice cream, there are compounds in ice cream that allow us to advance food, and they come from the sea, comes from seaweed, for example. And there are many other more important compounds that are used for drugs that have anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, antiviral properties. So the fact that we keep and we preserve the sea and we make sure that the conservation work that we do is efficient is because the more species we have, the more resources we have for us human as well. Also, when the sea as ecosystem is healthy, helps as a climate change kind of mitigation purpose, because this allows to absorb a lot of CO2 that is in the atmosphere, and this helps with climate change itself. Also, the plant species that live in the sea, so everything that is green, provides oxygen. And it's the oxygen that me and you are breathing right now, and everybody that's listening to us now is actually breathing. So this is another very important service that the sea is providing us. More than 60% of oxygen on planet Earth is actually produced by the ocean.
Wow. I didn't know that. Et issemmi li aħna mhux biss qed nitkellmu fuq li niklu l-ħut li huwa t-tielet produzzjoni ta' proteina fid-dinja, imma wkoll li daw mill-baħar nieħdu aktar prodotti mhux biss il-ħut. Semmit l-alka per eżempju għandha properties li jintużaw anka fil-ġelat. Eżempju, imma wkoll f'ċertu mediċini, f'ċertu drogi li jintieħdu mill-baħar. Importanti għalhekk li naċċertaw li l-organizmi kollha, l-ispeċi kollha li jgħixu jibqgħu jeżistu għax iktar ma jkollna minnhom iktar jkollna riżorsi, semmit ukoll li l-baħar jixrob ħafna carbon dioxide li aħna narmu man-nifs u mill-exhaust u meta naħarqu l-materjal, dak jassorbi allura qed ineħħi mill-impatt li qed inħallu fuq id-dinja, apparti milli 60% tal-ossiġnu ġej mill-baħar prodott mill-ħaxix li jkun ħadrani fil-baħar. Ġifieri dak hija l-arja li aħna qed nieħdu jiena u intom li qed tisimgħu. Thank you for that information. In 2021 you founded Blue Ecotech Limited, an innovative social green tech startup company. That's very brave and wise of you, I think. The mission of Blue Ecotech Limited is to provide innovative solutions, I love that, to valorize marine waste sources, so from the waste itself, using applied biotechnologies to develop added value products. Maybe you explain this to us, and how would a country like Malta benefit from such a startup company as this?
So the idea of valorization of waste biomass is, to put it in simple words, is the process where you use a resource of any kind, in this case something that is considered waste, to be recycled or reused in order to produce products that can have an added value. So basically something like, in my case, I'm working at the moment with seagrass beach wrack. Seagrass beach wrack is what we call alka. So it's all the brown material, plant material that is washed ashore along the coastline, especially during autumn and winter months, you will have more and more coming along the shoreline. And that material is considered waste. In fact, is either left there to rot or is then uptaken just before the beginning of the tourist season and thrown away. So that material can actually be used for producing something else, something good. And the idea here is to either recycling or reusing it in order for production of other products that have a value, like, for example, biofertilizers, biofuels, packaging materials, and there are many types of applications that for these waste biomasses can be done, so that their life doesn't end there. And this has many benefits. For example, you were asking me what could be the benefits for an island state like Malta. First and foremost, reduction and management of waste. In fact, Malta has a limited space, and space is a limiting factor. And the way that Malta manages waste is through landfill. And landfill occupies space. So the idea of taking this waste biomass, and not only seagrass, beach wrack, but other type of biomasses coming from the sea, for example, like fish waste, is that this material doesn't end up in the landfill and doesn't occupy more space. The other positive benefit is that if the seagrass beach wrack or fish waste or any other type of organic material that is left there rotting, it will produce greenhouse gases. And the uptaking of this material in order to do something else with it, so reusing it or recycling it, has also a positive effect on the environment at large. And lastly, it will support and foster the recycling industry and within a circular economy framework that is really important at the moment, especially for an island state like Malta. So that within this type of economy also we can foster the appropriate use, the sustainable use of these resources.
It's amazing. Li qed tissemmi Dr. Alexia Massa Gallucci, per eżempju jekk jieħdu l-alka jew l-ħmiġ tal-ħut, flok jitħalla biex jintrema jew jitmermer biż-żmien, jintuża għal prodotti bħal biofuel, biofertilizer, etc. B'dak il-mod aħna qed nibberifikaw għax dan minflok sar ħmieġ u jħalmeġ fejn narmuh ma tantx għandna spazji, il-landfills malajr jintlew u Malta mhix daqse kbira, m'għandniex spazji iktar, jiġifieri jekk aħna nibdew narawh flok ħmieġ imma riżorsa u minnu ħadna prodott ieħor qegħdin insolvu l-problema ta' fejn ħanarmu qed inneħħu l-idea tal-gases li joħorġu greenhouse gases minn meta jiġi biex jitmermer u wkoll indaħlu l-kunċett ta' circular economy, ġifieri prodott bħalma jiġri fin-natura għandek werqa titmermer u mbagħad tittikel mis-siġra stess u terġa' tipproduċi iktar, aħna nippruvaw nieħdu dik is-sistema u Malta għal circular economy. I think that is something important to have, that type of outlook from the start, that you use circular economy. It's important for the whole world. But especially in a tiny island like Malta, we'll end up not knowing where to throw our stuff and why and instead we can use it as a resource.
Exactly.
I find that
both
that
a
amazing.
benefit at economic level, but also the environmental level. So
Yes, and so your company does that.
yes,
So BioEcotech is also committed to protect the natural marine resources, carrying out habitat restoration of impacted, so there's already harm
Yes.
happened there, and degraded marine habitats. So as a company, how do you see the state of Malta? How do we stand? What type of restorations are you doing in these habitats?
as we said, it's really important to not only conserve the marine environment as it is, but also restore it, because we need to keep it at its best, let's say, functioning level in order to have all the animals and plants living there being in a healthy state, so that also this can provide us with more resources, but also with what is called ecosystem services, as we were talking about before, the oxygen, the protection of the coastline, species that can be used and abstract some active compounds in order to produce drugs and other useful products. In general, the more healthy the ecosystem it is, the more biodiversity there is. This is usually the relationship. And regarding the restoration is really important, especially in areas that have been highly impacted. Malta, as we said, is an island nation, so it's surrounded by the sea, but there are many type of impact in the marine habitats related with, for example, anchoring in various areas, overfishing or fishing with trawlings in areas where there should be basically more protection, and many other type of impact, like for example coastal infrastructure development. So especially on the habitats that are close to the coastline, like for example seagrass meadows. Seagrass meadows is one of the most important habitat in the Mediterranean. We do not have proper coral reefs. So seagrass meadows really are the ones that are producing and supporting the most of the biodiversity, protecting the coastline from erosion, and because the seagrass, the most common seagrass in the Mediterranean is Posidonia oceanica, the one that we call alca, is the one that produces the most oxygen. Think that 1 square meter of Posidonia oceanica is produced 20 liters of oxygen per day, and supports all the biodiversity, as we said, and together with that, the meadow itself protects the coastline from erosion. So there are many more ecosystem services provided by this habitat when it's healthy. The problem is that this plant grows very slowly, so when they anchor on it and they rip it off, it will take a long time to recover its function. And the idea here is to restore this habitat through something that is done also in terrestrial environment, that is called reforestation. So the same way that you would think about plant trees in areas where there are no longer trees, we can do the same underwater.
Wow.
So we can get plants that are freely floating. We do not need to get them from other meadows. They are freely floating because they've been dislodged by anchoring or by wave motion or storms and so on.
It happens. Mm-hmm.
It happens. And then plant them in the areas where they've been ripped off. And they need to have a support in order to be planted, and the support is represented by kind of biodegradable type of support, so that once the plant has rejected the roots as anchored to the substratum, then the support itself is gonna biodegrade and no leave any trace.
Amazing.
And
so
this
very well thought out.
Yeah, and in this way, then in time, the seagrass, it will repopulate the area, and the ecosystem will go back to its previous function. But it will take time.
Of course. Thank you for that. So il-kumpanija ta' Blue Ecotech hija kommessa biex tgħin lill-ambjent li forsi ġie ftit meqrut jew ħafna jerġa' jieħu r-ruħ għaliex kif semmejna aktar qabel li kollok il-baħar f'saħħtu bil-kollox jaħdem kif suppost niggwadanjaw aħna anke l-ossiġenu li semmejna l-ossiġenu li nieħdu nifs. Jiġifieri huma jaraw li l-ħsara li sar sajt żejjed, trolling jew inkella fejn niżlu l-ankra fejn jiċċarrat bl-ankra stess ikun hemm ħafna drabi dan it-tiċrid qed jagħmel ċertu ħsara. Allura huma jerġgħu jieħdu din l-alka li għalina hija minflok ma jkollna coral reef għax m'għandniex, din l-istess alka tipproteġi milli jitmermer il-kosta ta' madwarna u jżomm ħafna biodiversità, ġifieri ħafna organizmi jgħixu fih u kif semmejna l-ossiġnu, ċertu kimiċi għad-drogi li nużaw għal-mediċina, ġifieri għandna bżonn nieħdu siba. Huma meta jaraw ċertu tiċrid u ħsara li saret fejn jimbtu dawn l-alka, jerġgħu jieħdu l-alka li tkun qiegħda tiflowtja xerda forsi anka bil-mewġ stess, iħawluha jużaw support li jitmermer b'żmien biodegradable li ma jagħmel ħsara ta' xejn ħalli xin il-pjanta tagħmel l-eruq din ħassib issib saqajja ngħidu hekk u l-organizmi jerġgħu jiġu jgħixu u jerġa' imur għalli kien. Sfortunatament da jieħu ħafna u ħafna żmien. Jiġifieri rridu ma nagħmlux il-ħsara. Biss dil-kumpanija tipprova tirrestawra kemm tista'. I find that amazing and it's one of the best news I've heard lately.
Thank you.
To have a company like that. The company also participated in Stage 1 in 2021 and Stage 2 in 2022 of the Med Climb Accelerator program and the Academy of Women Enterprises last year. These funds were received through these programs are being used to support your initiatives. Maybe you give us an idea what these were,
yes.
what these are.
Also, recently Blue Ecotech received the Maritime Seed Award. That has been supported through the takeoff at University of Malta and funded by Transport Malta. And all these programs, the first two programs that you mentioned, are supported by EIT at European level and are an European accelerator for green tech startups. This is really where I started with putting together my idea and thinking that this idea then could become a company and could become a startup that can go on in the world and do actually make a positive impact. And at the end, between 2022 and 2023, I also participated to the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs that has been organized by the the US Embassy and also supported by the Malta Chamber here in Malta. And this also allowed me to get in contact with women from all different sorts of backgrounds and understand that yes, my project actually has a potential because I won a prize at the end of the academy.
Yes,
so
yes, and well deserved.
Yes, so all these funds then I've been using it together with the one from the Maritime Seed Award to support the production of the development of a product from the seagrass beach rock. So from the alga, as we said, along the line of one of the main line of work for my company, that is valorization of waste biomass, is again the idea there to get the seagrass beach rock and obtain value-added products. In this case, is going to be what I'm focusing on is developing nanocellulose. So nanocellulose is microstructure cellulose that can be used as nanomaterials. Nanomaterials are present basically pretty much in everything I can see in the studio, from very small components, and usually they are traditionally made out of plastic. plastic is non-recyclable, non-degradable, whereas if it's substituted with nanocellulose, that would be completely 100% fully biodegradable. So the idea is to create something that will not give a further impact into the environment, but rather something that has obviously a value and also can have a positive impact into the environment. So.
That is another great piece of news. Kifet naraw, Dr. Alexia u koll ġit emmejuna minn l-Europa u koll minn għaw Malta stess, Transport Malta u kif semmit ħadet anka l-Academy of Women Entrepreneurs Repita'i, b'daw l-istess fondi tkun tista' tagħmel il-prodott mill-alka stess, kif semmejna iktar kmini, ma jiġix mormi minn flok tagħmel dawn il-prodotti jidulhom nanoproducts. Jiġifieri dawna it-tip ta' materjal li jintuża minn flok il-plastik kif nafu qed jagħmel ħafna ħsara lill-ambjent, impatt anke fuq saħħitna, mentri dan il-prodott nanoproduct, ġifieri qed nitkellmu fuq affarijiet żgħar ħafna li kull component ta' kull computer magħmul bih kollox, pereżempju fl-istudju huwa magħmul bih. Ma jagħmilx impatt ħażin fuq l-ambjent, anzi jkun biodegradable, ġifieri dak jintrema jerġa' jitmermer u jiġi fix-xejn bħalma werqa tiġi fix-xejn. That is great. I'm not surprised it won. I want to dedicate the last few minutes on the research project profile you are currently working on at MCAST, C2 Tech, as part of the MCAST Research Fellowship Scheme funded by the Ministry of Education, Sport, Youth, Research and Innovation. Maybe in a few words you could explain what this involves and what your goals are.
Yes, for C2 Tech, again, we're going to go along the line of waste valorization, working again with ALCA, with seagrass beach rock. And for this project, the idea here is to take the material. This is, because it's made of a plant, basically seagrass beach rock is made of all the dead part of the plant that are washed ashore. So the plant underwater goes through cycles like any other plant on a terrestrial environment. So during actually the month of autumn and winter, all the leaves become brown, they detach from the plant and they're washed ashore. So what we find on the shoreline are dead part of the plants that are naturally going through a turnover. Together with the leaves, we have piece of roots, rhizome, that is basically the trunk of the seagrass underwater, and other bits and pieces that have been washed ashore. So this material is a plant material, and as any other plant material, it can be then transformed into something else. Here we want to use it and try to produce a material for 3D printing. So the idea is to be able to use this lignocellulosic biomass, as technically said, so it's a plant material, in order to be mixed with other biodegradable material already existing in the 3D printing industry, create a filament, and then with that be able to print different type of objects.
And again, it would be biodegradable.
And it will be completely biodegradable.
Amazing. So il-proġett ta' riċerka li jeda taħdem ma' l-MCAST jismu C2 Tech, parti mill-Research Fellowship Scheme ta' l-MCAST, ed jihdu l-istess salka da kollu li jispiċċa fuq il-bajjiet tagħna li narawh fil-ħarifa u fix-xitwa bħalma jiġri kull pjanta fiċ-ċiklu tagħha fejn il-weraq jiġu kannella u jintremew u mbagħad jerġgħu jidħlu fil-ħamrija u jerġgħu jagħmlu pjanta ġdida. Minflok huma qed jiġbruh ma jispiċċax fil-landfill kif għedna qabel, imma qed jintużaw biex jagħmlu l-filament għat 3D printing. Meta inti kollok printer li tista' tipprintja bih tista' tgħid kollox, hawn min jipprintja anke djar. Flok ikun imma plastik li jerġa' jagħmel ħsara lill-ambjent huwa biodegradable u ma jagħmilx ħsara. Flok kif semmejna minn flok ikun ta' xi ħaġa li rridu neħilsu minna, anzi jsir riżorsa li aħna nagħmlu xi ħaġa minna. I think that is phenomenal. I am so grateful for your work, for your research, and for you coming here to Malta to do all this amazing work. What's next for you?
I'm continuing working with MCAST until next year, and then the outcome of this then will be used for going forward and perhaps asking for funds at national level, like for example the Research Excellence Program through MCST, and see how this then can be put then into the market after we get the first proof of concept. So
amazing, and I really wish you the best of luck so that this happens, and we need more of you. Do you clone yourself or something? I'm joking, but thank you so much.
What is important in all this, I have to mention, are the collaboration with other colleagues at national level. For this project, I'm working with Invent 3D, that is a Maltese company, and also through MCAST, also in the support of the academic staff, we are be able to develop all this. So more collaboration at international level, so bring more people, more skills, and keep developing it.
Yes, kollaborazzjoni, risorsi li ir-riċerka li qed toħroġ mill-lemka stess hija ta' valur, u jiena naħseb u dejjem kif dejjem ngħid ninvestu fir-riċerka għax dak huwa l-futur tagħna. Thank you so much, Dr. Alexia Massa Gallucci. I didn't want to say it wrong. Thank you for everything and for finding the time to being here.
Grazie. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. Grazzi lilkom eżis semmija tal-li segwejtu Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti. Islim.
Ispirazzjoni u Esperimenti ma' Angel Gallia.